All right. Welcome back, everyone. So, welcome to the Blue Sky Citadel training. We're going to focus on behavior-driven development today using Cucumber, which is in GHERKIN language. So, we're going to look into that. And if time permits, we're going to look at the installation of IntelliJ and Java. If you're not able to do that, we'll do that next week. All right, let's go. First thing is TDD. This is one of those things that you hear your developer talking about TDD, what's TDD, and yeah, there are different opinion and viewpoint about that. But I think TDD is a test-driven technique where automation tests, maybe by automated tests, I mean unit tests actually, to be honest. So is written before the code. So what developer would do is like they write their code or test, they write their test, and then they make the test to pass by writing the code. So the first thing you do is your test. So your test comes first. Then because there's no code behind it, your test is going to fail. So when your test fails because there's no functionality at all, then you now refactor your test. And when the code is written, you start running your test from there. So then after that, if the test does not pass, you fix the code, you run the test again, you fix the code, you run the test again. So that goes on in that cycle. So until that particular test passes. So the first thing you do, to recap again, is to write your test. Then from there, you write your code. Then you continue to refactor your code until your test passes. So that is TDD, is test-driven development. So the first thing you write is your test. And this is basically used by developers. But I would say in some instances, you see testers also using test-driven development. And then let's go to BDD. This is behavior-driven development. I would say this actually borrow the same concept as TDD, basically, because what you are going to do, you are going to be creating executable specification that will instantly fail at the first instance. So then from there, you make the test to pass. So, and that is the technical part of it. But if you want to explain it into a layman, BDD actually helps us to narrow the communication gap between development team, be it the customers, be it the tester, the BA, and the like of that, and also the developer, of course. So it narrows down that communication gaps. So when you are writing your TDD, everything is written in code. So everything is written in code, and then the communication from developer to BA, it's very, very narrow. There's huge gaps in there. So, but in BDD, it's written in English, and then it helps to communicate, helps to promote continuous communication, basically. So we're going to look into BDD today, and like I said, it's basically a development process that encourages collaboration between developers, QA, and basically every member of the development team. So, and like I said before, it actually emerged from TDD. So it emerged from TDD. So to finish this particular up is like you are writing scenarios or examples that will help you to talk through how the application behaves. So what you are going to be having communications or conversations with the rest of the development team using examples of how the application should behave and what the things that the application should do, what are the things that the application should not do. So everything is written in this particular English-like format. So, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. How do you write this BDD? What exactly is the BDD? What format it takes? So that's what we're going to cover in this lesson today. So now, BDD is written in GHERKIN. So now, what is GHERKIN? It's basically a set of keywords that helps you to structure your specification so that you can be able to execute them in code. So you have keywords that you can use that will help you to relay that message to the computer so that the computer can execute it, and the program can execute that particular English-like format that you've given. So, and it's written in given, when, then. You have a given clause, you have a when clause, you have a then clause. The given clause is what you need to describe what the software will look like to user. So, or in most cases, what the software will do before you say, before you continue. So, and the then is what your user are going to do. And the then is what users should expect. So, if you flip it also in this way, basically, when a user sees an application, what is the state that the application will be in? What are they going to see? So it's like, given, yeah, I am on the page. Given I see this particular page. Given I do this. That's kind of what a tester will call a precondition. What you will do, what you will say before you start your testing. Then, or before you perform some actions. So that is what is going to be in your given clause. Then you get a then clause and a when clause and then clause. We're going to expatiate this in greater detail during this particular tutorial tonight. So, but yeah, that is basically what a GHERKIN is English-like, is special keywords that we are going to be using to structure our specification so that we can be able to execute them. So, okay. So now, let's say we got a specification right now, and it said we'd like to encourage new users to shop on our shop, to buy on our shop. Therefore, we are going to be offering 10% as a discount for their first order. That is a business case. So then, what will the tester do? The tester start to write the code. Oh, go to this catalog/search. Even after you've registered, then enter what you want to enter, the book number. Then click on search, add to catalog. Then also you should be able to see subtotal, which basically it's with the discount. That's what you will write in your test script. Then developers also, or automation tester, with your spec flow, with your not spec flow this time around, maybe Selenium, plain Selenium, or with a unit test, will just now convert it into this part of the code. So that's what you have before GHERKIN. You get a specification and you have a test script for that. But written that in GHERKIN format now, you will not have it plainly written. Everybody is speaking the same language. Say, giving the user has not ordered yet. They've not ordered the site. When the user add the book to with the price of $337.5 into the shopping catalog, then the shopping catalog should have a subtotal of 33.75. So that is what is being converted. So now everyone now in the team is speaking the same language. Now the BA is speaking a different one, the tester are speaking a different one, developer are speaking their jargon. But as I've said before, the GHERKIN allows everyone to now communicate better, and it actually narrows down the communication gap between every member of the team. So let's look at the syntax of a GHERKIN. You have a feature, right? The first thing you have is a feature, most of them, and you put the title of the scenario that you want to have, and you have your given, you have your when, and you have your then. So I will explain this in later. So like I said, GHERKIN is just a plain text. To be honest, it's just a text file. But what you're going to do is like you're going to put an extension dot feature to it. So, but you can write it in any text file, be it Notepad, Note++. But in this particular tutorial, we're going to be using IntelliJ IDE. But get in mind that GHERKIN is just a document actually with an extension of dot feature. So, and then what Cucumber will do for you will read the GHERKIN format or the GHERKIN document, then execute the step to validate what your system should do. So that's what it's going to do for you. So now important terms that is used in GHERKIN. One, you have your feature. Like I said, your feature is one that explains what you are going to be testing. I'm going to explain that in great detail later. And also you could have background actually, which actually explains in the background you're going to say what you want to do for each of your tests. So to start, basically your preconditions, but it's different from a given. So I'm going to explain that also later in great detail. You also have scenarios, and you can have more than one scenarios in a feature file. So then you have given for your precondition, then when for your action, then for your assertions, what you are expecting. And each of the given, when, and then can be you can have different ands to them, whereby you have different clauses to say given this and that, when this and then. So then you can be able to put them in a constructive sentence basically. Then also you have but also, which is negation of what you are trying to do. So like I said, this is just information. For GHERKIN, they are only plain language. It's now left for you to now convert them into Java code. We're going to cover everything in this particular, in the course of this tutorial actually. Then the last one that you have is you have scenario outlines with examples. I'll actually put them together because this is one thing that people mix a lot. So because sometimes you write scenarios outline and you don't have example, your test is going to fail. So, or you put scenario and you put example. No, they don't go together. This is when you have scenario outlines, that's when you have examples. So if you don't have scenario outlines, you don't need to use examples. And also when you do have scenario outline, there should be examples. So I hope I'm able to explain that. So now this is one format of how a standard feature file will look like with only scenarios. So like I said, this is not using scenario outline. I'm using only scenario. So the first thing you want to write is the feature followed by a colon. Then you're going to write a descriptive text of what you want to do. The text could be the business value of this particular feature. You want to also write the business rules that govern the scope of the particular feature, or additional information that could be useful to even you particularly that you are writing it, maybe in a time, maybe in future when you want to read that test, or you want to see what that test is actually doing, or even for the rest of the team that are looking into that test. So it helps them to see what that test is doing. So then it follows by your scenario keyword. Scenario keyword follow with a colon. Then you now put the title of that scenario also. That's some also descriptive word that also establish that particular test or scenario that you are testing. Then you have your given, which will describe the preconditions. If there is, you can also follow with some ands, which are also like some other preconditions that are needed. So you can have given some conditions, then and. Then after that, you have your when clause. Your when clause comes, then you will be able to put the actions you want to perform by the user. Then that also follows with some ands, which you're going to have. If you have more than one action, then you would put those actions in a and clause. After you already added those ands, which is concatenated with the when, right, then you will follow them with a then clause. So of course, because you are trying to test a particular scenario, so you will have some outcome that you are expecting, so which you're going to assert or verify that it happens. And if you have more than one scenarios or tests that you want to establish, then you would put and clause in there so that you can put them together. So this is the standard layout. Sometimes I'll tell people also to follow this scenarios layout very as in how it is written out, because I've seen during my experience, I've seen where people will say given and when, then when, and when given, and it doesn't flow at all. So when you are going to be writing your script, you need to follow this. You have to follow that pattern of giving, when, then. So it's okay to put lots of ands in your giving, then you follow with a when. I don't normally subscribe to people saying giving, when, then, and they will also add another when, because, or they will say giving and they will say, okay, because I want to assert now, they will now put then in that giving clause. And because they say, okay, giving I log in, then I confirm that I've logged in. When I perform this action, they continue that. But no, I don't think that is right. So you need to follow these steps. It has to follow the giving, when, then, as is being laid out. So yeah, so I don't need to talk too much on this one. So it's basically given, when, then. So the giving clause, as I've said, is the state your system should be in when you first start. So which is a tester, a manual tester will call it like a precondition. What are the states that your application should be in before you start? So for you to be able to do some testing, you want to do some other things. So an example is giving a user logs in into givetrade.com. That's your precondition. So because for you to be able to do some actions, you need to log in. So that is your given. So you need to put that into there. Anything that you want to do before you perform your actions or you start to testing, you put them in the giving clause. So then the giving is followed by the when clause. So like I said before, the when describes your actions. So what the user should perform on your site. So and then you would be able to list them. So and basically this is when users are interacting with an element on or different elements on your platform. A sample of that is when a user clicks on register button and then they enter first name, they enter last name, they enter email address, and they click on sign up button. So that is what's going to be, those are the steps that are going to be in your when clause. As you can see, I've been able to concatenate them with different and clauses. So, and it's not only one. I've seen instances when people also now put that when the user register. So they match everything together. To be honest, it depends on what is your achievement. Actually, it's sometimes better to lay everything down so that when any step fails, you know what step. For instance, you are not able to enter username or you are not able to enter first name. That step is the one that fails. Unlike when you now say giving the user register. So and you put all the steps together in one line, in one step definition. I won't actually subscribe to that. So, but I know some people do that also, but you need to be aware of that also. And also, it also depends on different culture, how maybe join an organization, because some people will say, do you need to be explicit or implicit? Do you need to be descriptive or you need to be in terms of statement? So that is a different discussion anyway, but I know there's different school of thought on how to write it, but I would say it's okay when you lay down every step so that even users that are reading your step will be able to know them, right? So, but in some instances, you might need to put them together. So there's no, I won't actually say there's a rule of thumb here. In some instances, when you say, given I go to this particular page, so you might bring them together so that it's not kind of that repetitive for the people that are reading. So you need to know what is good for you in different instances. Okay. So then the then clause is the one that where you put your outcomes. What are the steps that you want to verify? What are your outputs? What do you expect in terms of messages, in terms of reports? What do you expect in terms of the state of the system? So you want to assert them. You want to see if the actions that you asked the user to do are, if those actions are successfully performed. You want to assert them. You want to verify that it is done. So, and yeah, so this is where you put everything that you want to establish. So a sample of them is then the user is registered. At this point in your step definition, you would put the step to establish how the user is registered. It's different ways. It's basically maybe you check if there's a message being displayed, or you check in a system where user is registered, they automatically logs in. You check on the profile of that user. There are different ways to do that, but in the same way, if you're going to be doing it as a manual tester, how are you going to confirm that the user is registered? That is the step you put in this particular clause. So also, there are instances when you have different data that you want to use. Like for instance, you want to log in using different users, and you want to use different users to be able to register. So there will be instances when you have this data-driven steps test to do. So there's capability in Cucumber that allows you to include tables and multi-line arguments in test scenarios. We're going to go into that in great details. You're going to see how that is being used, and even in the practical session. But bear in mind that, okay, you can use table, you can use multi-line text argument also. And also you can use tags also, which allows you to mark some features or scenarios. So this is basically, I use this more often actually when I want to separate some tests. I don't want to run some tests. I want to actually limit the number of tests I run. For instance, let's say I want to run a smoke test. I can tag some tests as a smoke test. So then when I'm going to be running them, I'm going to be running only those ones I've tagged. So it's very, very important for you to tag those ones that you want to extract among your tests. So it's also very, very important. So I will also look into how you can actually do this, how you can tag your test. It's basically putting an at your scenario. I think I should have even added an example here, but it's not. So what you need to do, I'm going to show you at the end of the class anyway. So what you're going to do is you put an at sign and you put what, like say at smoke. So that means that particular feature or scenario that you've tagged is it is now smoke test. So, and also you could, another keyword is background. Actually, there's some instances when you will find yourself that you are repeating different given clauses, like you are performing an actions and you are always saying giving I log into GIFRIT and I click on this register, or giving I log into this and I click on posting, giving I log into GIFRIT and so for all the tests in that particular scenario, or in that particular feature rather, so you are repeating the given steps. So the background helps you to be able to put them together in a background section. So when you put them in background section, then you don't need to put them in each of the scenario in your test. I'm going to go through an example also to see how this is being used. So what happens is like it allows you to now add that particular context into your feature. So which means that when your test is being run, the background is run first for each of the scenario. For instance, if you have 4 scenarios in your test and you have one background, it means that first at the first instance your background will run first, then then the first scenario is going to run, then after that your background also will run second, and the second scenario will start, and when the second scenario finishes your background also will run, then the third scenario will also start. That's how it will go. So but however, if you want your test to have different background, it is not possible. So you need to actually split them into different feature. So we're going to look into this also later. So I know you guys have started manual testing, so that's why I brought this particular course, so that we can do this as you are doing the manual testing. So in manual testing, you have your test condition, and in BDD or in GHERKIN or Cucumber, you call that feature basically, and you have your precondition in manual testing, but in the BDD approach is going to be in your given clause. So then your actions exactly, or your steps are going to be in the when clause. Then in manual cases, you want to have like what's it called, expected behavior. Expected behavior, then that's going to be in your then clause, or also with your actual behavior, it's going to be in your then clause, because you need to verify both of them together. Then the same thing also if you have your outcome pass or fail. So the same way also in BDD you have your outcome, which could be a log or a report file or result file, and you can actually send them. So but in the course of this tutorial, we're going to go through again on also we're going to also look into how to generate the report that you can send as an evidence that your test passes or fails. So a good example is, for instance, when you are doing your manual testing, you're going to say, or giving you post an ad, the same thing as in your spec. Okay, I think this is not, we are this is spec flow, but of course you can, because we're going to be looking into Cucumber in this particular session. So where you have the spec flow, it should be Cucumber anyway. So on your step condition is your test condition, giving you post an ad, the same thing with manual and also in the BDD. So you go to GIFRIT.com, but in BDD you say giving, you navigate to GIFRIT.com, then also you log in and start. So yeah, you say you log in to with username and password. Then the same thing also in BDD, you will say and I log in with username and password. These are your preconditions, but in BDD it is in your given clause with your and clause. And then you have your actions. So, and you say post and add. In the BDD, you say when I create a post ad. And the same thing also, when you go to the expected behavior, then I can see the post on my profile. That's what you will put in a BDD feature file. Alright, so as you can see, literally, GHERKIN is just a line-oriented language, to be honest. So it's not anything but a text file. It's only that we use different indentation to define the structure of the file. Then I also want to point out that if you want to comment some part of the lines, you need to use the hash sign. So that means that particular line is not going to be executed. So, and what happens is that your the program on that particular line will be omitted completely. So we look into step definition later, but not in this one. So, and every step that you have in your feature file are going to be, not every file, there are some steps. They're not every step actually, because if I go to the top quickly, okay, so in this particular line right now, your feature file are not going to be transcribed into a step definition. Your feature lines rather, all this one that you have, because this is just descriptive text that explains what the test should do, and also your scenarios line is not going to be translated into step definition. But anything from your given to your then are going to be translated into step definition. So you, in this particular instance right now, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different test step definitions that needs to be created for this test. Okay, so that is that with GHERKIN, to be honest. So I'm going to quickly, before I do that, I'm going to quickly go through the manual step, and we'll convert some of those things to automation right now. So from the manual step, how do you convert? What do you say? And then we're going to look into that quickly. 1 minute. Yeah, I know you already started the manual testing, writing manual testing script. So, and yeah, I know the tutor has been brilliant too. So I'm going to follow up on what she has been teaching you. So, and in that, so we convert some of the steps into GHERKIN, and from there I would also answer the question that's the last person asked. So we can go from there. One test case will be, let's see, our test condition is registration. Okay, so, and you would normally, that if you are at work, you might not be using Excel, you might be using different tools that it actually helps. So maybe version 1, Jira, maybe, or software, or Azure DevOps, or there are different tools that you would use. But to make it simple and easy, so we're going to use that. And also know in the manual testing class, they are going to be teaching you different tools. So just bear with us right now. So I think it's easier to start from tools that everyone understands. Then we'll move to that too. So now I'm using Excel right now. Also, I know there's also some establishments or companies that are still using Excel for this particular for the test cases anyway. So let's say you have your serial number and you have your test actions or steps. Then you would have your expected behavior. Then you will have your actual behavior. Then you have your status or outcome or result. Perhaps if you're not good in Microsoft Excel, I think we did 2 classes in Microsoft Excel. So do look into, if you check our site 1 minute. So these are this one, and I think this is another video for Excel. So if you Google for Blue Sky, I think if you're on Blue Sky, there, I think that should take you to, that should take you there anyway. So you can, then if you scroll down, you should be able to see the videos. So this and that one. Okay, so that's if you are interested in Excel training, because there's also I know some organizations still use it anyway. And also you could as well also subscribe to the channel so that you can get updates on our video. Okay, let's go ahead anyway. So now CR number is just for counting. So first step, let's say login to so maybe you would put the step here, click on login. No, I think this is not. Maybe go to give.com and then you click on that. Then let's go back. So the first thing you click on login. However, I think that's wrong because we want to do registration. So you click on register, basically. So click on register. So when you click on register, then enter first name, enter last name, then let's assume we're going to fill the most important one and leave the rest. So enter email. Then we go to click on register. Is that no? Click on sign up. Okay, so these are your steps. These are your steps anyway. So now expected behavior is you're going to say, or when you go to give it, so giverate.com website is displayed successfully. Click on register. Register page is displayed And so on and on like that. So when you click on sign up, so that is what you will put in your manual steps. Then when you are running your steps, you're going to be filling the actual behavior. So basically you bring GHERKIN.com, you go to that site, and then let's say you go to that site, then you click on register, then you fill in the name, the email, and then you fill in the let's say username and password. I think there's password also. I think you can go on like that, then yeah. So and also capture and everything like that. So now let's go to the feature, the BDD one. So in BDD you have your feature, and you say registration. So say this is to, normally I will put space so that it will be meaningful when people are reading it. This is to just registration. Or that is one way, or in most cases you say as a user or into this site to register. So that is what you write. Then the next one is your scenario. Scenarios. Then you can say valid registration. So valid registration. For you to have a valid registration, what do? You put a given clause. As you can see, there's a colon and there's a colon. Then in my given clause, there's no colon. So given I navigate, or in most cases, sometimes you can say given the user navigates to gift. Or I've seen instances or given I navigate to give it. So you need to decide which one you need to use, because that will inform how you're going to write the next statement. So let me use this approach. Okay, I need to even indent it a bit. So let me just give a little tab. So but now I don't need it, so I can put a comment. So means this is now commented out. So I'll just put this as an So this @ sign basically makes that like a comment, or you can also, if you don't want to execute that line, you can put # sign actually in there. So that is purpose of the # sign. If you have any question, you can type your question, so then I will answer them as I go. Thanks. Okay, all right, let's go on. So the first one is your giving clause, which is your precondition, which is the same thing as your manual testing. Then after that, you want to click on the register button. So when I click, okay, now, like I said, I'm going to be using the user. So I will stick with that approach. So giving the user navigates to givefree.com and the user, or I can just not say user again and clicks on register. And so now, as you can see, the enter one, they are going to be in your when clause. So everything is going to be in your when clause when it clicks on the register button. And what is it? Enter the first name and enters the last name and enters the password. And confirms the password. So I just, and so yeah, so now I think this is the question that, what was that? Yeah, this question that Femi now asked. So I have forgotten about a step, which is enter email. So what do I need to do? So it's so easy, like I said before in the theory part, that this is plain text. You just need to insert your step wherever you think it should be. So, and I'll say enter email. Then, even if I say I want to also enter mobile number, okay, I need to put and. So, and so this is all the when clause. So after that, when you click on the sign up button, what you need to do, you have a then clause. Then the user is registered. So that is what you need to do. So for all these steps. So this is you converting your manual testing into a BDD approach. Then you can convert them into Cucumber steps. So then what happens is that each step you need to now write code for them. So I'm going to say what's going to happen. Then in the practical part, we'll explain how this is going to happen. So for instance, let's say this giving clause, you're going to have a giving clause and you're going to have a method for them. Let's say this is it, and okay, let me just do that for. So you're going to have a method for them that what should happen. So the same way also you have the when clause, you have the step, you create the step for them. You create the step for them. You're going to do this in the next week when we convert these particular steps into step definitions. So we're going to make them step by step. The first one, like I said, in the first instance, I'm going to say, do I need Java to learn this course? Do I need? So we're going to make it as easy as possible. I know everyone should be able to write this, right? So the next one is going to be, okay, how can I convert them into code? We're going to make it easy. The first one you're going to do is like, how can you convert this into code? That one is you understanding the tools, the IntelliJ that we're going to use. It's basically right click and convert it into tools. And it's going to create the function for you. It's not this format. It's going to something like, it's going to have different formats so that you would put something like that. Then I think everything will come together. I think Java would just concatenate them. So with different so what's going to happen in your code, then you will now write the steps to navigate to giphy.com, which is basically like driver dot go to URL or navigate to URL. So we're going to do those ones anyway. So then that will take you to that URL. So when we get there next week, we'll let you know. A question: do you need programming language to convert the scenario? Do you need programming? I don't understand what you mean by do you need programming language. If you're talking about do you need to have experience to, I think if you can rewrite that, that would be good. Okay, another question is about captcha, right? So as you can see, there's captcha here, right? So this captcha is here, but you cannot program, you cannot automate a captcha, because that is the point of having a captcha. If you are able to automate a captcha, then it actually defeats the purpose of a captcha, because captcha is there to make sure that that site is not able to automate. Well, the question is like, are you going if you're working in an organization and they have captcha, what is going to happen? Does that mean that you are not going to automate that site? No. So you will have a test environment. The same way for people that are going to go into the internship of this particular program that we run, we will give them a test environment to use. And in that test environment, there is no captcha. So then you'll be able to automate that site properly. So that's the point of having a captcha. So, and another question, do we need only mandatory fits? No. So it's basically what you are testing. You're going to be testing lots of things. One of them is going to be like, when I don't even feel anything at all, and I click on sign up, like so. So you're going to be testing that, yeah, that it's, because that's one of, because as you can see, I said scenario valid registration. There will be other scenarios also that you would do. You would, let me remove this. You would also have similar scenario like that. So, and you don't, okay, in the same feature file. So you have invalid registration, but now with, let's say, empty data. So, or you could have not, that is too broad to be honest. So you can have empty first name. So that means you feed the rest and you leave the first name, and you basically do something like that, but without, I'm not going to fill in the first name with empty first name. So, and I can do the same test also without filling the first name and the last name. But yeah, okay. In the first instance here, right? So what happened is like, okay, empty first name. That means I did not put any first name. I just removed it. So, and my result, then the user should be registered. Well, I would need to convert that should not be registered. Or I can say, or I can remove that. I can say then error message is displayed. I can even be specific and say the error message is. So this is basically for me to first describe start that error message is displayed and the error message is that. So you can as well do something like that. I'll come into this why I put it in quotes, but you can as well not put it in quote, because then that is fine. But there's also a way to put it in parameter. So this is one test and this is another test, and you can do the same thing also for the empty last name. So that is what you will do. So now we have 3 different tests here. So I will remove this because I don't need that. So okay. So this is what you have now. One minute. So the one question is that how do you undo negative test in GHERKIN? So I think that is what I've just done right now. So basically, and I've said in the first instance, okay, let's say in the first instance, let's do another one. I will do another one now with a good negative testing. So basically, let's say for email, and I'll say enter invalid email now. So the same step, but now I say invalid registration. So, and I can put invalid email. So even with invalid email, there are different scenarios that you can actually put in there. So we bear that in mind. Then the user is not registered. So, and that's what you need to put there. So then you confirm that that user is actually not registered with that invalid name. And you also confirm there's other instances when you would also do something like wrong password. So that is, I think, yeah, I missed actually all the ones. This one I've done at the top also might not even pass, because for you to do that, you have to confirm your password. So let me, the same way, I will just add, I just realized that input that and confirm. And, password. So let me copy that one and so, and this one now I can say enter wrong confirm password. So basically, if it's wrong, then it's not the same as the password I've entered. So the user is not registered, and I can also add these details also here. Since I want to confirm a lot, then instead of then I can say and an error message is displayed, and the error message is I can put the confirm password is incorrect. So if that is the message, so then on and on like that, that's what you need to do. So there's some questions. So do we need to learn programming language before you can automate scenario? The answer is yes. You need to know about programming language. But like I said, in this particular teaching or lessons, we're going, even if you don't have experience or knowledge about programming language, we are on this journey together, right? We teach you what you need to know, basic programming language that you need to know for you to be able to automate it, right? But however, it doesn't stop there, right? You need to be able to go and learn more if you really want to use it to work, because you will go for interviews, they'll be asking you some difficult questions that you need to know. But we try to make it as simple as possible so that you understand what we are talking about. I hope that is cleared, so that people don't actually quote me that you don't need to have experience or knowledge about programming language. You do, but we try to make it easy. I think we've already done it in the previous section before. People came for this program actually without any experience in IT, in programming language at all. So maybe any language they speak is their mother tongue, maybe Yoruba and English, but they're able to learn Java. That is required for this test basically. So I just need to emphasize, but I haven't finished. They now brushed up their Java skills. They also read some tutorials. So it's very important. So okay, so can I test negative scenario? So I've answered that one. Okay. Okay, is there any maximum scenario that you can write in the future? There is no maximum scenario. It's endless. It's like basically you're writing a text file. Like I said, it's basically a text file anyway. But of course, I wouldn't advise you to write more than 4, or even 4 is even too much, basically. So what are you going to be testing? Each has to have, for instance, if this is becoming so big for me, I can split them into different tests. I can now say this one is registration. I can call it invalid registration. So that would mean that I will remove this and I'll put it in a different test, in a different feature file, basically, which is valid one. Then I can concentrate on invalid scenarios in this one. For instance, let's say my invalid scenarios for emails are now becoming, all this is becoming lots. I can just focus on invalid email, not this one. So that means all the other ones with first name and last name, I can move them out and they become a different test or in a feature file. So that's what I would do. But I wouldn't advise you to have a very long feature file. It's not going to make it readable. So you need to cut them into different steps or different features. So okay. Do you have any column for pass on the spreadsheet? Yes, I've got a column for pass or fail. That is my status basically. So this is what I've got, pass or fail. So you have pass. When you are running your test, you can put pass or you can put fail. Okay. So that's the columns I've got for my pass or fail. So 1 minute. Okay. All right. Another question is about the activation link sent to email. So yeah. So you need to look at the functionality of the site, right? Why do we have activation emails? It's basically to prevent someone like yourself actually automating this site without having to use the site. So, and that's the purpose of sending the link. Like I said before, it's the same thing with the capture, right? So for you not to automate the site, you have to provide an automation link that's been sent by emails. So in that regard, you will not be able to do that if you are not using a test site. For a test site, they will remove that particular functionality that would not, or they will provide an API for you that will generate that particular code that you can then use to continue. That's the approach that you will use. So yeah. Okay. If a wrong password is entered, are we going to be able to enter email? Yeah, I think this is basically functionality about the site. You need to use the site and see how it works. So more often than not, you will look into, and in the manual testing class, they will tell you how you will be testing, because you'll be testing based on the requirements, and the requirement will specify how the application should work. But however, there are some instances when they will ask you to test without requirements, which is another type of testing called exploratory testing. So where basically you test based on experience. So, and that is another level of testing. So, but you need to know how this site work before you can automate them, or you have a requirement that defines how the site should work. Okay, let's continue. I think those are all the questions for now, so I will continue with the automation. Okay, now I have done this. I also mentioned in the theory part that you could use background actually. So this is how it's being used. So you have background, all right? You have background. So when you have this background, what it does is, now you can see every step I have for my test, every scenario rather, I say giving and navigate, 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 giving and navigate to give it. So I repeat that everywhere. So what's going to happen, instead of repeating it everywhere, I can cut that one out and I put it in my background. So that means I don't need to repeat it everywhere again. So I can remove it everywhere. I can remove everywhere. And I'll tell you what you're going to see in this program. There's something I'll tell you, which is what the industry is doing, and I'll tell you my own opinion also about it, whether it's good or bad actually. So, but I'll tell you what those things are. So as you can see now, and I've told you one, I don't subscribe to you having more than 4 scenarios in a page, because it makes your feature file to be too long, and also it also means that you are not able to design your test cases properly, and it's also possible that you are mixing all different tests together in one file. So every test has to be unique, and you have to put them in one feature file. If you are able to do that, I don't expect a feature file to have more than 4 scenarios, to be honest. That's my own viewpoint. Then 2, also in terms of background, when you have a background, you put the background there. What's going to happen? I'll tell you now what this test, how they are going to run. When you are running this test, the first thing it does is background. It goes into step 1, and this is going to be your step 2. This is going to be your step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7, step 8, also 8, step 9, and step 10, step 11. So that's how it's going to run it. Then what's going to happen also is going to now come here again, and another one, step 12 now, and then 13 and 14. So that's how it's going to run the test. So, and 15, 16, 17. Then when it comes to this, the next one it does is it goes back to the background again, and then it starts to run the background again, and then do your when. That is how it's going to run it. So let me remove that. Oh, okay. I think I can. That's unfortunate. Okay, I will leave it for like that anyway. But however, there's another step that is so common also, as you can see, that I might as well move, which is when I click on register button. So I can as well move that. So as you can see, in the first instance, I told you some people will do that also. It's, for me, it will work actually, but your background should be like kind of a precondition basically, but it will still work, because what is going to happen if you remove all the registered, when I click on register button, what's going to happen is that your background always runs first before every scenario. So what's going to happen, these 2 steps will run, and then all these steps will run next, then these 2 steps will run after, then this one will run next, then these 2 steps will run, then the next one will run. So, but in some cases, it doesn't follow the other. As in, like this scenario will run first before this one, doesn't follow the other. But what's more important for you to understand is to know that your background will run first before any scenario. And then after that scenario has finished, your background will also run next. Then the next scenario will come later. Okay, there's also a question about examples. I'm going to look into that also when we do our examples. So, okay, all right, let's. Okay. All right, I think that is that for. Okay, now I want to tell you about my viewpoint about this. To be honest, if I add my ways, right, I don't normally use background. Why? Because what happens is that sometimes it loses the flow of the scenario. When you are reading the scenario, you need to look up and down. Let's assume now, in the first instance, giving the user navigates to give it, when he clicks on that, then he enters this and that and that. So when I come here, I have to also get that to know that there's a precondition here, or there's a background that I need to read. It breaks that flow basically. So that's why I also tell people if you have 3 or 4 scenarios in your feature file, I don't think you need to use background, because it doesn't make sense, because you're only going to repeat it 2 times, and it makes your scenario to have a meaning. But if you have, like the last question, if you have 7 or 8 scenarios and you are repeating a lot of them, yeah, it makes sense for you to put them in the background. Can I use a background being a whole scenario? I don't understand what that means. If you can write that. No, the background, I think another question, I thought the background run once. No, it doesn't. It's a background to all the scenarios. So for your scenario to start, the background comes first. Basically, what you're saying here is like, this is the same thing. If I remove the background, now I'm not using background, so but it comes to something like that. So this is what we are saying. Your background runs first, and then your scenarios, each of your scenario now run next. So basically, this is what you're saying. So that is basically what you are talking about. So let's me pull it down. Yeah. All right. So okay. So then you can save it. Like I said, is dot feature, right? So I'm going to do that. Okay. Bear in mind that bear in mind that we are not going to be using Notepad. We are going to be using IntelliJ. For if in the next 5 or 10 minutes, I will go into the installation steps. Then from next week, we start to use IntelliJ for that. But it's good for you to know how this thing is without having to mix different tools together. So because some people, they just lose it when they are actually, oh, there's a tool, I don't understand how the tool works. Then also you've got even how feature file also is. So it's better for me to explain it without having to bring it to as a complexity on top of it. Do we have to include serial number? No. Okay. Just to make it, no, you don't. I just use the serial number to explain the execution order of the test. So you don't need serial numbers. So I would remove that. I wanted to remove it before, but because, so you don't need serial number. So that's what you would do. Okay. All right. So. So, okay, I think, and so that should be, okay. So now I will remove this. So I want to quickly look into the one with parameters. So, and okay, before the parameters, let's look into the outline. I think it's better the parameter first, because that would lead us to the outline. So now with parameter, so let's say with invalid, no, mail registration. So now let's say we use the, so what's going to happen now is, like in some instances you would need to pass a parameter called first name, and you might need to pass a parameter called last name. So given I enter what's the first name, you want to put the name, that particular data, and what's your last name, and the password. This is my very so now that's if we have on the screen, what we have on the screen are scenarios. How do we have the test cases? I don't really understand what that is. If you can write it again. So okay. Oh, I think I've already. Oh, that is even, yeah. Already confirmed. Yeah, I repeat that twice. So if you do that in your test, so it's going to overwrite it again. So that's, yeah, then you know that you've written it twice. So then click on sign, and that's it. So this is now a parameter that you will use. So what's going to happen is, like, now when you execute this step and you execute this step, these steps are going to be passed as a, the data DG as my name, as my first name, are going to be passed as a parameter into your step definition. So the same way also, your last name or Gulaja is going to be passed as a parameter into your step definition, and the same with your password. But in the first one that we did, in your code, you have to write your username, your first name, and your last name, and the password. This goes into your code. But in this instance, right now, you've exposed your data into your feature file. Your data, it will not be passed as a parameter into your step definition. When we're going to look into that next week, how we convert it. It's the same step. It's easy to convert them, so you don't need a lot of things. You just need to know how to convert them, but you need to know how it works, what's the difference. Actually, that's why I'm taking time to do this right now. So you're going to convert them into different steps. Each line are going to be converted into different steps. So I said this is different because it's not parameterized. Your data or your test data that you're going to be writing will be inside your step definition. But this one, your test data is now inside your feature file, So it's going to be passed as a parameter into your step definition. So now let's go through the next step. Now we should not use an outline. So let's say we now have scenario outline. Like I said during the theory part, when you have scenario outline, it will be followed with examples. It will follow with examples. Then what you need to do now, this have different way. So you need to put that first name. So that should come. Okay, so in your examples now, you need to do the pipe. For those, because I know some people will be saying, what's the pipe? How did that happen? So the pipe normally will be after your shift. If you have your shift key, then at your left hand side, right, is the key after your shift key. So we have your pipe and your slash is shift slash that give your pipe, that give you the pipe. If you press the shift and the slash, so in my own keyboard it might be different from what you have. So okay, so if you press on the pipe and then we put the headers of, because okay, I think I've not actually filled all this thing in. So let's say this is going to be last name. Let me put this as first name, capital F. Okay, and this is going to be the password, and this will be confirm password, and this will be emails, mobile number. Okay, all right. So what you need to do now is to now pass all these parameters into your examples. Okay. Then you will now write the data that it should pass into. So because of time, I'm going to just remove this. We use the other ones. So let's just use this one. So then I put the same as secure password. Alright, so as you can see now, this one is using parameters right now. So what you have, right, this is going to register with these different test data. So what's going to happen, this scenario, even though it's written once, is going to be executed 3 times for these 3 data that you have. So, and from here right now, I will look into the execution steps right now. What you're going to have is this step executed, followed by this. So if this step is the next one that should be executed, which I told you is sometimes doesn't follow the order. So, but let's assume it's on this, in this order, then this step will be executed, followed by the next one, which is this. So, and this, and this, and this, up to this particular step. Then after that, this step also will be executed, and then followed by this one, and then this. So this, and also that one. So once this one is executed, but bear in mind, it's going to be executed using this particular name. So as the first instance, it's going to send Deji and last name Ogunaja, and then my secure password as my password. So, and then it's going to start again, go into my background again, execute the background, execute the when, the given when, and so when it comes to this particular step, instead of the first name, it's going to use John, and it's going to use James for last name, and it's going to go like that. Then on to Bob and Smith again for this particular scenario. So this is how to use scenario outline in your test. So, but bear in mind, this is using a parameter, but your test your test data is going to be passed in each of the steps. However, this one also, your test data is passed as a parameter, but you now have examples for them. Okay, now what I'm going to, another question that most people will ask is, for instance, when I have these steps right now, and I copy this test to test another thing. Let's say I'm not testing wrong password, and I said enter wrong password. When you are going to be converting your step into step definition, you are not going to be writing each of the steps one after the other. I think you are not going to be writing steps every time. A step that is you've already written will automatically be bound with the step definition. For what I mean is, like, for instance, right now, when I copy this and into this particular step, and this step is already written in the former step, and I've got a bound step definition for it, I don't need to generate a step definition for it again. Automatically, it's going to be bound with that particular line of code I've written before. So anytime in my solution or in my package that I said and I entered the first name, automatically it just go and get the step definition for the, I don't need to do anything. I just need to write it exactly as I've written before in a different feature file or in a different scenario. It's going to be bound with that particular step definition I have written again. So that's why step feature file, Cucumber or BDD is very, very good. So you won't be writing the step every time. It helps you to reuse your line of code. So which means that if you say and I enter mobile number, so anytime you write that, it's going to go into the step definition for the mobile number. You don't need to write that line of code again. So coming back, because I use that as an example, coming back to this one, this line of code and this one, sometimes they work together. So you need to know when to use them and how not to use them. So we're going to look into that, because some of you might need to use tables to pass them You might need to use parameter to pass them. So, but we'll look into that in great detail. But it's not that difficult for you to distinguish them. But as long as you know, as you can see, this is your greater than or less than, and this is your only quote anyway. So, any question? I think I've covered most of what you should see in a feature file, to be honest. So, okay. Any question? Okay, cool. All right. So now we've come into the installation right now. How do we install? What do we need to do before next week so that we can get ready for next week? So all these things are required. So before we can start, we need Java. You need to install Java. So you need to do Maven. You also need IntelliJ IDEA, and you could also use Eclipse. So for this particular tutorial and also for this particular training, we are going to be using IntelliJ IDEA. So, but if you can also Google for IntelliJ IDEA with Cucumber plugin, that also is good. You can add those ones also. You can just Google them out, Java SE with Maven and also IntelliJ. You don't need, if you already got IntelliJ, you don't need Eclipse. So we are not going to be using Eclipse, we are going to be using IntelliJ. Quickly, I'll just run through the steps that you're going to encounter so that you can do that yourself before next week. First thing is installing SEJDK. So if you go to this site, you can download Java. It's from Oracle. So you click on download, then you should click on accept licenses, and then if you, depending on the computer or the laptop that you are using, depending on the machine, you click whether Linux or Mac or Windows. So in my own case, I'm using Windows, so I'm going to click on Windows x64 being executive exe. Fine. So when I click on the accept, then it disappears. Then I can click on the window executable file. So you will see this particular screen, and you can click on next. I think it's from there. It's simple. Just click on next, close your eyes, and then you will get to this step. Then you will see the close. You can click on close. Then the next step is for you to install IntelliJ IDEA. So the same way also, if you go to that site, jetbrains.com/idea, so you would see the screen. You can download. Yeah, click on download from here. Then you will see the installation dialog. You can click on next. Then at this point, that okay, I've already put. I've already highlighted part that I want. I think I want 64-bit launcher shortcut. I want to add the open folders projects to my context menu. I want IntelliJ to associate to Java, and also I want it to launch my directory to the path. So, but as we said, if I do this, I need to restart my computer, which I think I advise everyone to do so that you'll be able to get your path updated. So then it goes, you just click on install. When it finishes, then that's fine. So I think that is so for Maven, we're going to do that next week, because I know a lot of people have got issues with Maven. The last time we did it was kind of a struggle, but if you can get this one sorted, I think we can get it started from next week. So it's going to be theory, and also it's going to be some practical section also with this, so that we get everything sorted. So any question? So I think we are done. So okay. So all right. So I'll just do a quick recap. So which is going to be like a flyover in 5 minutes, if that's okay with everyone. So just read past the what we've learned today. So we start with BDD. So today, so BDD, behavioral driven development. So we also spoke about TDD, which is test driven development, which is you test first before you start to develop. Then also we talk about the giving when then clause of GHERKIN. So and also how you translate a story into GHERKIN format. Then we as we said is given when then, as GHERKIN is extension of a feature file. You just put a feature in a text file. That's what is it. Then important text about or terms about GHERKIN. Background, we've covered the background, we've done the feature, scenarios, given when, then, and but. So that's what we cover, and also we've also covered the scenario outline for now. So and I've explained what those are. So the given your feature is a textual descriptions and followed by a scenario, which is a business situation that you are testing. Then given, which is some post precondition that you are testing with some add and which you can use to concatenate with your given, and you have a when which specify your actions, and then followed by the then clause, which is the outcome that you are trying to achieve. So and I've also explained what a given is, so and also what a when is, then what a then is, also how do you do the then to get your observed outcome. So I've in our test, in our practical part that we've done, I've explained the tables also we've done a table using scenario outlines and also multi-line arguments. I've done that using scenario sparse arguments. So I've not done the tags quickly. Maybe I'll just do that right now. So what you need to do for tags is so you can tag your scenarios like so. You can say, this is, let's say this is valid. So I can also tag this one as valid. So let's say I've got another one, which is this one is now invalid. So basically, let's say invalid it is. So I can tag it as invalid. So now I can also tag the whole feature file as registration. So if I want to run registration, I can say run this feature file tag registration, because there are better feature files that will be tagged differently. So I can as well now tag this one also as smoke. So basically, this is the only one that I want to run when I'm running my smoke testing. So that's the purpose of the tags. We've done the backgrounds also. So, and I've explained this, then installation is what we did next, basically. So what we need to do. So if you can do the installation before we come back, that would be good. For installations, you need to install Java SD EJDK. So you just go to that site, then you click on accept, then you go next, then install IntelliJ IDE. You just go to that site and JetBrains, and you click on next. Then you make sure you set the or check all the checkbox as I've done. Then you click on see installation is done. All right, so I think that is everything we've done tonight. So before we go, any question? Okay, I think that is all. So we meet again next week. So that's going to be it. Thank you, everyone. So have a good evening.